Liam Delap is watching his Chelsea dream collapse right before his eyes. The London club is already preparing a brutal £30 million replacement that could permanently exile him from Stamford Bridge. This isn't just a standard rotation issue for the young forward. The Blues are staring down the barrel of missing out on Champions League football next season, and the front office has decided that their current attacking options simply aren't cutting it. Delap arrived from Ipswich Town last summer with massive expectations on his shoulders, but his performances have fallen drastically short of what the management demanded. Now, the consequences of that underperformance are becoming painfully clear. Reports suggest that Chelsea's hierarchy is preparing for yet another major squad rebuild this summer, specifically targeting a complete revamp of their offensive department. The patience with their current setup has completely evaporated, and Delap finds himself squarely in the firing line of this impending overhaul. The solution they've identified is currently sitting in Paris. Gonçalo Ramos has been offered to the Premier League giants, and the Portuguese international is reportedly wide open to making the switch to England. He wants out of League One, and Chelsea represents the exact kind of high-profile escape route he's been searching for. This potential transfer represents a massive shift in Chelsea's tactical approach. While Delap has struggled to find his footing and deliver consistent results, Ramos brings a completely different pedigree to the table. The 24-year-old already knows what it takes to win the Champions League, bringing crucial elite-level experience that the current Chelsea dressing room desperately needs. If you want to stay updated on Chelsea's massive summer rebuild and all the latest transfer drama, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The next few months are going to completely reshape the landscape of the Premier League. The contrast between the two strikers couldn't be more stark. While Delap has been fighting just to prove he belongs at this level, Ramos has been quietly effective despite playing a secondary role under Luis Enrique at Paris Saint-Germain. Even without being the main focal point of the Parisian attack, he has still managed to find the back of the net 11 times this season, while adding 2 assists across all competitions. What makes Ramos such an attractive proposition for the Londoners is his specific skill set inside the penalty area. He possesses an elite understanding of space, constantly making intelligent movements to find high-quality shooting positions. When those chances arrive, his finishing is clinical, and he provides a genuine aerial threat that Chelsea's current attacking lineup sorely lacks. The tactical implications of bringing Ramos into the starting 11 are fascinating. Sources indicate that his arrival wouldn't just replace Delap, it would trigger a broader reshuffle of the attacking line. The plan would likely involve shifting João Pedro out to the left wing, creating a new dynamic that allows Ramos to operate as the central focal point of the attack on a regular basis. However, this potential blockbuster move isn't without its complications. There is a very specific reason why Ramos hasn't cemented himself as the undisputed main man in Paris. His primary drawback is a noticeable lack of explosive pace, which has made him an awkward fit for PSG's tactical system. But Chelsea's management clearly believes that his other characteristics in the final third more than compensate for this limitation. For Delap, the writing appears to be on the wall. The speculation surrounding his future is growing louder by the day, with suggestions that a departure later this year might be the only way to salvage his stalling career. He needs regular first-team football to reignite the promise he showed at Ipswich, and it's becoming increasingly obvious that he won't find those minutes at Stamford Bridge. This situation highlights the ruthless nature of modern football at the highest level. Chelsea's recent history is defined by these exact types of aggressive squad overhauls. When a player fails to meet the immediate demands of the club, the ownership has consistently shown they will not hesitate to enter the market and find an immediate upgrade, regardless of the human cost to the player being replaced. The potential arrival of Ramos for £30 million actually represents relatively smart business in today's inflated market. Getting a proven goalscorer with Champions League pedigree at that price point is rare. It suggests a more calculated approach from the Chelsea board, moving away from astronomical fees and focusing instead on specific tactical fits that address glaring weaknesses in the squad. But this calculated business move comes at a heavy personal cost for Delap. Being benched is one thing, but watching your club actively negotiate for your direct replacement while you're still trying to prove your worth is a devastating blow to a young player's confidence. The psychological impact of this public pursuit cannot be understated. The pressure is now entirely on the Chelsea management to get this decision right. If they do push Delap out the door and bring in Ramos, the Portuguese striker will need to hit the ground running. The Premier League is notoriously unforgiving to strikers who lack pace, and Ramos will have to rely heavily on his intelligent movement and clinical finishing to survive the physical demands of English football. As the summer transfer window approaches, the tension at Stamford Bridge is palpable. The club's desperation to return to the Champions League is driving every decision they make. They simply cannot afford another season of offensive inconsistency, which is exactly why they are willing to make such brutal, decisive changes to their attacking lineup. The coming months will define the trajectory of both these players' careers. Ramos is looking for a club where he can finally be the main man and showcase the talent that made him one of Europe's most sought-after prospects. Meanwhile, Delap is fighting for his professional life, desperately needing a fresh start to prove that his struggles at Chelsea were just a bump in the road, rather than the defining chapter of his story. Ultimately, this saga perfectly encapsulates the high-stakes gamble of Premier League football. Chelsea is betting that Ramos's intelligence and finishing will solve their goal-scoring woes, while simultaneously accepting that they may have completely ruined Liam Delap's confidence in the process. It's a ruthless calculation, but when Champions League qualification is on the line, sentimentality is always the first casualty. The broader implications of this potential transfer extend far beyond just two players. It sends a chilling message to every young prospect currently developing within the Chelsea system. The pathway to the first team is no longer about patience and gradual improvement. It's about immediate impact. If you cannot deliver results instantly, the club has the financial muscle and the ruthless disposition to simply buy someone who can. This reality creates an incredibly toxic environment for development. Young players need the freedom to make mistakes and learn from them without the constant fear of being permanently replaced. But at Stamford Bridge, that luxury simply does not exist. Every poor performance, every missed opportunity is magnified by the knowledge that the scouting department is already compiling a list of potential replacements. For Delap, the psychological toll of this environment must be immense. He arrived with the belief that he would be given the time and support necessary to adapt to the unique pressures of leading the line for a top Premier League club. Instead, he has found himself thrust into a high-stakes environment where patience is non-existent and failure is punished with immediate exile. The contrast with Ramos's situation is striking. The Portuguese striker is arriving as the established solution, the proven commodity brought in to fix a specific problem. He won't face the same developmental pressures as Delap. Instead, he will be expected to deliver immediate results. But this expectation comes with its own set of challenges, particularly given his lack of explosive pace in a league that demands physical dominance. Chelsea's management is essentially gambling that Ramos's intelligence and technical ability will overcome his physical limitations. It's a bold strategy, one that relies heavily on the tactical acumen of the coaching staff to create a system that maximizes his strengths while hiding his weaknesses. If they can achieve this, the £30 million fee will look like an absolute bargain. But if they fail, the consequences will be severe. Another failed attacking signing would not only further damage the club's reputation in the transfer market, but also severely compromise their chances of returning to the Champions League. The financial implications of missing out on Europe's premier competition for another season are staggering, and the pressure to avoid that outcome is driving every decision made at the executive level. This desperation is the underlying current of the entire Delap Ramos saga. It's not just about upgrading a single position, it's about securing the financial future of the club. The ownership group has invested heavily in this project, and they demand a return on that investment. If that means ruthlessly discarding a young player who hasn't met expectations, they will do so without hesitation. The tragedy of this situation is that Delap's potential remains undeniable. He possesses all the raw attributes necessary to succeed at the highest level, but he simply hasn't been able to put them together consistently in a Chelsea shirt. A move away from Stamford Bridge might be exactly what he needs to reignite his career, finding an environment that prioritizes development over immediate results. But for now, he remains trapped in a state of limbo, watching as his club actively pursues his replacement. It's a brutal reality of modern football, a stark reminder that talent alone is never enough. You need the right environment, the right timing, and the right opportunity to succeed. And unfortunately for Liam Delap, it appears that none of those factors are currently aligning for him at Chelsea.